Right, 7:30, but we're missing people. 1, 2, 3. We're missing. Right on. All right, we're missing Greg and Mr. Baker Jr., correct?
Yes, sir.
Time for the phone calls. Oh, there.
Mr. Baker Jr. just came on.
See that? Negative 1 minute ago. Yeah. Piano Mill and finish off with, or to try to finish off with Concord Street. Yeah, yes. I don't know. Where are you? Oh, well, I don't know. Figure it out as we go along. That is what it is. All right, we'll talk to you later. All right, rock and roll. See ya. Okay, well, Mr. Tansey is no show. I got 7:32 on the clock, so we're gonna start. Let's see. Welcome everybody to the June 7th, 2022 edition of the Rockland Zoning Board of Appeals. All members that are attending are participating remotely. That would be Bob Baker Sr., myself, Rob Rosa, Mr. Stephen Galley, Mr. Tim Haynes, and Mr. Robert Baker Jr. So at this point, I very rarely do this. It always says it at the beginning, but everybody should be aware that this public hearing is being recorded and streamed live. So let's see, I would entertain a motion to open the public hearing.
Motion to open.
I got a motion.
Second.
I got a second. Roll call. Mr. Baker Sr.
Yes.
Self is a yes. Mr. Haynes.
Yes.
Mr. Baker Jr.
Yes.
Okay. Unfortunately, Mr. Tansey is not going to be able to attend. So I think in this case, it's got to be a 4-0 vote. So I give normally I would default to legal counsel. He's not here at the moment. I can shoot him a text message. I know where he is. He's at the town hall. He's got a meeting with the selectmen. I can get his opinion on it and we can proceed that way. Or we can go through the motions, get everything squared away, because I don't think this is going to be that difficult. And then just pull the board, see what happens. And if it's, again, Mr. Norris, if it's not going your way, if you don't feel like it's going your way, you can request a continuance and go one more month. But I comfortably believe that we should be okay at this point. So I'll leave that up to you. Okay, and there, then let's do, let me read the legal advertisement. Remotely conducted continuance public hearing will be held by the Rockland Zoning Board of Appeals on Tuesday, June 7, 2022 at 7:30 p.m. on the application submitted by Robert Norris, 88 Lakeshore Drive, Duxbury, Massachusetts, for a variance pursuant to sections 415.22 building and lot regulations and 415-89.1 zoning variances to allow the applicant to construct a 38 by 40 addition on the rear of the existing building, being a portion of the real property at the premises known as and number 295 Center Avenue, Rockland, Massachusetts. Property is located in the Business 2 zoning district, section 415-14. Yeah, section 415-14 of the bylaw and is further identified as lot 92, map 55 on the Rockland Assessor's maps. The owner of the property is Piano Mill 295 LLC, 295 Center Avenue, Rockland, Massachusetts, 02370. The applicant and all interested parties are advised to check the town website and the zoning board's webpage for additional information. Okay, let's refresh what we were talking about here. What we had asked for, and just to remind everybody, what we had asked for was some sort of sign off from the police department to make sure that if this got built, that that their ladder truck was going to be able to make it. After said meeting, it took a couple days, but I was able to get in touch with Mr. Norris was able to get in touch with the police department, the fire department. They recommended the swept path detail that they need to be able to see that this is going to work. I coordinated with Carl Garvey, the surveyor. I got him the information. He was able to add that to the plan. Mr. Norris took that to the fire department, and Deputy Chief Heaney did put together a letter. I'm only assuming, board members, that you've seen both the revised plan and the letter as written by Deputy Chief Heaney. Is that correct?
Correct.
All right, so at this point, I think that feel that the applicant has done everything that we've asked him to. He also revised the plan to be parallel with the back, to be in line with the back line. And as I expected, the further you go out, because of the angle between the property line, the further you go out, the further away it actually gets from the lot line. So technically, this could have ended up being a section 6 finding, but because it was advertised as a variance, we kind of have to look at it as a variance. Either way, it's accomplishing the same thing. If anybody has any questions of the applicant, I'll start off with Mr. Baker Sr. Got any questions?
No, none at this time.
Mr. Haynes?
I thought we had some additional requests for the plan, including parking calculations, sort of before and after. There were some questions about the condominium and getting her council had a question about having condo docs.
Yep, the actual ability to do what he wants to do.
Yeah, I thought there were some other questions. That's why I thought there were more things that we had asked for. So.
Let's look at it one at a time. Mr. Norris, were you able to get something from the condo association?
Yes, I got a letter and I sent it to the zoning board from the lawyer of the condo association.
Deb, does that sound familiar?
Yes, I have seen it. It was an email, a separate email that came in. I can pull it up.
You can pull that up and share your screen, and at least that way we can all look at it and at least.
Yeah, it wasn't, it was an email with a letter attached to the email from the lawyer representing the condo association.
Yep, and then from there, when it comes to the parking calculations, I believe we had that under lock. And we said that even though he's going to lose the 3 parking spaces.
I remember it. I this comes up a couple of times, but it's the sort of thing that should not come from the board's calculations, but should be on the plans.
Understood.
Done
I'm
by
going
the
to stop it
surveyor.
right there. Technically, it's outside of our purview. He's only asking for the variance on the back line. He's going to have to go to a planning board anyway, and planning board is can and has in the past overruled our decision on parking. So I'm trying to keep this technically within our purview. We
Well,
did.
Parking requirements are in our purview. But
Understood.
more importantly, even looking at the plan, we were one of the, again, I'm talking about the things that we discussed in the meeting and asked for that we don't have in front of us.
Well, Deb is
so-
pulling up the letter, so we're gonna have
So
that.
do you want me to pause and we can talk about the parking when we're done with the letter?
Well, no, because I want to get this solved right now. Again, parking based on the bylaw, he's got enough and then some. So,
I think what came up in the meeting was that it was supposed to be on the plan. And more importantly, rather than us doing the calculation, the condo, there was some question of exclusive parking areas and the actual, we talked about like what were the square footages of, of the building, of retail space, what's the square footage of the warehouse space, how much of this will be. Some things were shifting in the building. So we were looking for those the square
Norris, was things
footages for the
shifting in the
parking.
building?
Yeah, the square footage was added to the revised site plan per the fire department requested or required that. So that was put on, that is on.
Do I not see it?
Yeah, that's what I was gonna ask the same
Zoom in.
question.
Maybe I just didn't zoom in enough.
Don't see it in the tabulation and I don't see it on the building. Again, based on the numbers that we did that first meeting with the architectural plan, I ran that around. Technically, he had enough and then some, even though he's losing the 14, 15, and 16, and technically the dumpster location, which again, that's going to be a site plan requirement anyway.
Looks to be that you're correct. It was added, but this has been done like 3 times in the last month. So here. So here's the one that was, here's the plan that my engineer produced before I was told I needed a swept path analysis. So he printed up 13 of these. Then I found out I needed a swept path analysis.
So you have that on your
For
first
some reason, he didn't include it in the revised one, but
Mr. Norris. So are you saying that it's on the first plan that you put in?
second one, the one that I went to him and asked for after our first meeting,
Okay.
with the revised dimensions. I said, I also need the square footage on here because the fire department required that. He put it on here. Then I had to go back because the second time I went to the fire department, that's when he told me I needed a swept path analysis.
Okay.
So when he made the one with the swept path analysis, you're correct. He did not include the existing building area with square footage, which is on the second one.
Okay. Can you read off the plan what it is?
Yeah, it's so the existing building is a total of 5,031 square feet. It's 2,500 square feet of showroom, and what is the remainder of that? I can't do the math quick, but another 2,500 square feet or thereabouts of warehouse. And then the addition, the proposed addition would be an additional 1,454 square feet.
Of pure storage.
Yes.
Okay. 2,500 square feet. Trying to remember the parking calculation. It's 300, one space for every 300 square feet, I think.
Yeah, that's what my notes from last time say.
All right, 300 square feet. So if that's the case, then
Square feet of sales floor.
yep, sales floor. 100 divided by 300 equals, so rounded up, he needs 9 spaces for customers. And then how many employees did you have on a regular basis?
One. My son.
So you're never there?
No, 2. Okay, myself and my son.
2, music teachers,
Pardon me?
music teachers?
Yeah, well,
Mr. Norris, how many employees do you have?
Okay, so I've been asked that and people want various answers, like how many employees. So my teachers, a couple teachers come one night, a couple teachers come another night. So in total, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 teachers, but they're never here on the same nights.
Okay, how many teachers do you have per night regularly?
2 at the most.
Okay, so 2 plus your son, so that's 3. Right?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, and are you there daily or?
Me? Yes.
Okay, so that's 4. So technically you need 4, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Overestimate, say 14, just for the heck of it. You got 1, 2, 3, 4, you got 10, 3. Yeah, you got, what am I doing? 10, you got 13, 14, 15, 16,
That's
17,
18.
20, 21, 22. I got 22 all within his parking area. So you got 1 through 10 in front of the building.
Yeah.
11 through 13, so that's a total of 13, and then 14, 15, 16, 17, 20, 21, 22. I got 20, I got 22. One more time. 1, 2, 3, 4, 10, 12, 13, 14, 16,
25.
19, 20, 21, 22. 3, 24, 25. Am I missing something? 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. No, I know what I was looking at. I got 22 parking spaces only within his parking area.
So do we have, does the condo letter say that those are exclusive use? Those spaces belong to this unit?
Probably do that.
Norris, how do we answer that question?
These are the
All right,
questions in the last time.
what's the question?
Question is, what are your exclusive parking spaces?
The question is, does the letter from the condo association say that those?
No, and the letter does not say that anything other than that they have agreed that I can build on that. No, it doesn't say anything about parking.
All right. Is there something in your condominium documentation that tells you what your exclusive use spaces are?
For parking.
Yeah.
I'd have to look at that. I mean, the print, as I see it, shows that I have 25 spaces.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean anything.
Okay.
Again, unfortunately for you, Mr. Haynes is right at this point. We don't know, we technically don't know what spaces are yours exclusively.
Okay.
Meaning more than likely, someone's not gonna park in front of your building and go to unit 2 in the back. All right. Also, more than likely, nobody is gonna park anywhere on parking spaces 11 through 13 and walk to unit 2 in the back of the building. All right. There is a possibility that someone could park in spaces 17 through 21 and have to walk and that, you know, if they had to go to unit 2 in the back of the building. But we don't know that. That's the problem. But the thing is that it may not be delineated in your condo documentation.
I'm curious because there's a marking noted an additional phase for another building, and some of those spaces are back there by it. But
I agree. No, I agree with you. I looked at it. That's been on there from day one. Hold on.
So, I'm sorry, how many, because honestly, I mean, I'm looking at this plan. and
Mr. Norris, you need 15.
15.
Let's overestimate and say you need 15.
Yeah,
It's obvious that around your building, there's more than enough. There's over 15 spaces.
right.
But the question is, are they all yours?
Okay. Yeah, I'd have to find out. I don't know, because we never use those, so.
Rob, do you want to leave this? Do you want? You suggested that this is potentially kickable to the planning board.
It is technically, we've been in this situation before, and I don't know if you guys have I don't know if you guys knew this or not, but technically the planning board can override zoning requirements when it comes to certain uses. I don't know if that's the case here, but in the grand scheme of things, the variance doesn't get affected by the parking. The parking gets affected by the variance. And in the end, it's the planning board that will end up having to make that final determination. Because as I said, Tom is going to throw this to the planning board for site plan review. They're going to go through 10 times what we've already gone through. And again, we did you a favor with the police, with the fire department, because the fire department's definitely going to have to know about it. And you would definitely have to be notified through the planning board. So we did you a solid there. But in the end, the only thing that we're tasked with right now is the variance itself. And based on the requirement as presented, he's got enough spaces. The question is, are they all his? That's a question best left for the planning board at this point. That's my general opinion. But again, this is a decision by the board. If we allow the variance, which is 13 something here, if we allow a 13-foot variance, is it going to, what do they say? Degrade from the spirit of the bylaw? I don't think so. And I don't think so. I think this is basic. Plus, in the end, what he also did was, if you look at the plan, it's not running parallel with the front face of where he's attaching to. There's actually a slight angle point in there, so he pulled it in that much further to be allowed to make sure that there was enough turning space for the fire department.
Right. Well, yeah, so can I ask a question?
Mm-hmm.
So, and I don't understand the difference between this, but at the last meeting, I thought I understood that by making these dimensional changes, I would no longer need a variance. It would become a special permit. Now, I don't know what that means, but.
Problem is that it got advertised as a variance.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not, either way, it's accomplishing the same thing.
Okay.
Either way, in the end, for the placement of the building, it's accomplishing the same thing. So as long as we maintain, the variance, everything is good. In the end, like I said, I don't see it being a major change. Not a major change. I don't see it being a major departure from what's already there. Plus, we can always go back to the I can't remember the case law that Bob cited, but he's already in the zoning setback. He's already there. He can continue. Technically, it would be a minimum of 15 foot. With his shortest dimension that I had him put on there, he's less than 2 feet away from the property to begin with. So he's already in the zoning setback. Technically, he's getting, as he goes further away, he's getting further away from the property. So he's technically in the spirit of how this stuff is supposed to work when it comes to prolonging the back line of the building. So in the end, I would entertain a motion to grant the variance. I'll come up with the number in 2 seconds.
I'll make the motion to grant the variance for the side yard setback.
We got a motion, a second would be appreciated.
I'll second that.
We got a second on that. We're gonna roll call this. And this is gonna be subject to my mathematical calculation to figure out what the actual number is gonna be. I got a roll call. Mr. Baker Senior?
Yes.
Myself is a yes. Mr. Haynes?
Yes.
Mr. Baker Jr.?
A non-voting member on this matter?
I thought you were.
I thought Mr. Galley was.
Yes.
Mr. Galley, remind me, are you?
Yes.
Yes.
Well, you gotta speak up, sir.
I figured there was 5 and I didn't have his name down or something.
No. Mr. Baker Jr., thank you for that. I'm gonna skirt on over to Mr. Galley. What says you, sir?
Well, I'm gonna get over my hurt feelings being forgotten, but I'm gonna say yes.
Rock and roll. All right, subject to my mathematical calculation. Now, this is all, as far as I know, this is all a business zone. It doesn't say it on the plan, unfortunately.
11.24 feet.
15,
Yeah, minus 2.76. Would be 11.24.
12.24. 15 minus
Okay.
2.76, 12.24. So let's call it a 12, let's call it a 12.2 foot variance that we're granting. Let's just. do this.
Rob,
Yep,
the 2.24, is
Yep.
that the existing building?
that's also, no, 2.24 is the existing, but it's also
Okay.
where the new building is going to attach. So again, just because it's late in the day, 15 minus 2.76 equals 12.24. That's a 12.24 foot
For the rear.
variance. But we're just going to call it a 12.2 foot variance just to save face. Actually, no, you can't.
No, can't.
No, you can't.
Gotta go lower.
It's got to be a 12, yeah, it's got to be 12.24 feet. That's the variance. That's the variance. Thank you, Mr. Baker Senior. Say again?
12.76 for the front. Front's a half a foot more than the back.
Yeah, but the 2.24, that's pre-existing. I know he's coming off of it, but it's technically pre-existing. If he wanted to maintain that 2.24, he wouldn't even need variance. It would still be it would still be technically that special permit, but you know.
Right. That's all.
I hear it, but I do hear what you're saying. You know, I do hear what you're saying. Let's be specific on this. This is sometimes where we get caught. 15 minus the 2.24, 12.76 for the front, for the
Front of the addition.
front of the addition. Does that work for everybody?
Yeah.
Okay. And then 15 minus the 2.76, 12.2 foot variance, 12.24 foot variance for the back.
Yes.
0.76 in the front. 12.24 in the back.
Sounds good.
All right, so we got that. Variance is granted. Any other questions, gentlemen? I think we're good at this point.
Not for me.
All right, Mr. Galley, I apologize. Mr. Norris, I think we're okay at this point.
You gotta read the 21-day thing.
Oh, yeah, we close so few of these that I should have this memorized by now, but I just don't. I'm gonna get my cheat sheet. Yeah. Okay. What can stay, you receive a decision in the mail, date stamp, 20. Okay. All right, we're definitely out of order here. So I'm going to do a point of order on myself. All right. I'm going to assume there's nobody in the audience that wants to speak about this. This is good because we haven't closed the meeting yet. Mr. Rubel, I see you here. You've heard what's going on.
Yeah, I just have one question, Mr. Chairman.
Yep.
On the advertisement, they were advertising for 38 by 40. Should we make note of that change?
That's probably a good idea. In the end, it's not a square building. It's not a square addition. He's got 36, 38, 38, and whatever the overall building itself is. I don't know what that is. It looks like it's gonna end up being somewhere in the neighborhood of 40 to 42.
Wouldn't that show up on the site plan?
It will end up having to show up on the site plan, and I'm assuming that there's gonna have to be architectural plans that go along with.
Can I tell you the numbers I have for the dimensions of the proposed addition?
Is that gonna change from the plan that we're looking at?
No, I don't think so, but you seem to not know what one of the dimensions were, and I have it. It's showing on my third revised plan here.
All right, what's the width of the building?
The width of the existing building at where the addition would be put on is 40.7.
Yeah, I knew it was gonna be like in the 40.1, something like that, so, Mr. Rubel, are you okay with this at this point?
Yeah, if that's I don't have the new drawing yet, but if that's what it is, I'm all set.
Okay, all right, so Deb, let's keep this in mind for a second. You know, it's 40.7 along the building, the existing building face. So let's I'm doing point of order. I'm going back to the business here. First and foremost, I would entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Second. Mr. Galley, you want to second that?
I will second. I wasn't positive if yeah, I'll second that.
Yeah, because I totally forgot. We gotta close the hearing first. So, Mr. Baker, roll call. Mr. Baker Senior.
Yes. Yes.
Myself is a yes. Mr. Galley
Yes.
and Mr. Haynes.
Yes.
Okay, here we go. Board of the hearing under the law. All right, Mr. Norris, the board will deliberate tonight. You are welcome to stay. You will receive a decision in the mail with a date stamp 21 days from the date stamp on the decision. Go to the town clerk's office, request a certificate of no appeal, and if no one has appealed, the town clerk will give you a certification and a copy of the original decision. Take those to the registry of deeds and have them recorded. One of the conditions is always to show the building department proof of reporting. Okay, so that takes care of that. Now,
I'll withdraw my original motion.
I appreciate that, sir. Mr. Galley, would you like to make a new motion on this? First and foremost, the next part of what we have to deal with is Concord Street. That's a meeting. We don't have to worry about that, so we can deliberate about this right now. Mr. Galley, you want to make a motion?
I don't know how to phrase the motion.
Phrase it however you think necessary, and we'll decipher from there.
I'm not used to making a motion. I'm not actually sure what I'm supposed to make a motion for.
All right, first and foremost, the first thing that you got to do is you need to make a motion that the zoning board grant a 12.76 foot variance.
Yep.
On the connection point of the connection point of the addition, and a 12.24 foot variance on the rear of the addition. That's number one. You would want it noted that the dimensions of the proposed addition are 40, what do we say, 40.7 along the face, Mr. Norris?
Yes.
All right, so 40'7" along the existing building, 36 along the front of the addition, 38 along the side of the addition, and 38 along the rear of the addition, depending on how you look at side, rear, everything.
Okay. All right, so I think I've got it. Okay, so we're calling it a variance.
Mm-hmm.
So I make a motion to grant the variance for the 12.76 front to the addition on the connecting side.
Yep.
And 12.24 foot addition to the rear.
Yep.
Noting the 40.7 existing side by the 36 foot front side, 38 foot length side wall, and 38 foot length rear wall.
Perfect. I got a
Second,
motion. I got a second. Roll call. Mr. Baker Senior,
yes.
myself is yes. Mr. Galley,
Yes.
Mr. Haynes.
Yes.
All right, done. All right. You've got your variance. Just note that you are gonna have to have architectural plans for the building department. You are gonna end up going through site plan review on this, so there's gonna be other requirements that the planning board is gonna have. Make sure that you keep a copy of, the fire department letter. I would recommend that you talk to your surveyor and have him, update the plan with all the square footages. Do a parking table. The planning board is gonna want to see a parking table on this. What else? You had given us architectural plans, a floor plan the last time. Is that floor plan changing? Are you changing anything about that?
No, but I don't believe I gave you a floor plan, but no, nothing's changed. It's just it's just a warehouse. It's just a one floor.
For the existing building, sir. For the existing
Oh,
building.
no, nothing's changing in here. No,
All right, so you've given us a floor plan for that.
yes.
Make sure you give that to the planning board for their submittal.
Okay.
And then I would recommend that you go over everything that the planning board requires for their submittals and make sure that your surveyor can cover it all.
Okay.
So somebody, I would suggest trying to set up an informal meeting with the planning board just to make sure you know exactly what's required. You may even want to bring Mr. Garvey along if he's going to be the one that's going to end up doing all the plan work for you.
Okay.
All right, that's it. I think we're covered at this point.
Okay, I can log out.
Yep, Mr. Norris, I appreciate it. Thank you very much. Everything's all good at this point.
Great, thank you.
Not a problem. All right, gentlemen.
Night.
Has everybody seen the last revised decision that Bob threw out here? This is the file that I have that I just downloaded out of my email. 6/5/22 draft decision, 320 Concord Street, findings and conditions as of 6/7/22 revision draft, Attorney G, and then the one is just because I downloaded it before. Does that sound like the same one that everybody else has?
Hang on a sec.
I just want to make sure.
Sent motions.
Yeah, he should have just sent that.
So this was findings and conditions as of 6/7/22 revision draft.
Findings and conditions.
Today at 4/22.
That's it.
Okay. All right, so I'm looking at the same one. Would it be helpful if I shared the screen so everybody could see it?
Yes.
Would that be helpful? Can we get this rolling here?
So the question is, did everybody have a chance to read it?
For the most part, the only thing that I wanted to make sure to add in here, because I don't think I saw it in any of the other conditions, something about, and I know that the applicant and the engineer they say they've designed this to keep all runoff on the property. That's how it's supposed to be. I'd like to add in a condition somewhere in this that states something like, I had this in my head, now I'm blanking on it. Applicant and or assigns, however that works. No, it's not gonna happen. No, it's not gonna happen. Should have wrote this down. I had this in my head all day. Should basically something along the lines of should any the call it nuisance drainage in other communities. Nuisance drainage conditions,
Any excessive flooding from the property.
there we go. Due to the construction of the development. And there we go. Any and all adverse drainage conditions that result from the construction of the development. Any adverse drainage conditions that affect any direct abutters property shall be,
Mitigated. by
thank
the-
you,
By
by, yeah,
the owner of 320 Concord Street.
at this point, we still gotta refer to him as the applicant
Or
or Debbie,
or
got it?
Or its successors and assigns.
Yeah, whatever that long statement is.
Because they do show sock all the way around the property too, so that'll get rid of the sill, but the water.
Yeah, but it's not necessarily any and all, any and all, adverse drainage conditions. I just don't want to, I know that based on engineering, based on stormwater standards, based on good practice, all the drainage that comes from this site, no matter what, is supposed to stay on the site by engineering. It's not necessarily going to be the case. So I just want to make sure that there's something in there that states that, along those lines. Does anybody have a problem with that?
Chairman.
Mr. Baker Jr., I see you raising your hand.
No problem with it,
Mhm.
but would it be wise to add or include damage to municipal property in that as well?
Oh, rock and roll. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Mr. Baker Jr., anytime something like that steps up or comes to light, make sure that you state that. If you have better language than anything that I'm stating, which you usually do, please make sure to.
I was going to say lawyers seldom have better English than other people, but sometimes better language.
Oh, absolutely.
I was just going to suggest any abutters property and or municipal property.
Okay.
That's all. I don't think you need to do anything more than that.
No, that works. That works. That's the only thing that I kind of wanted to get in here. Because I know that prior to this, it was an issue. In the end, it may be an issue going forward. I don't know. I don't know. So I don't know what's going to happen. I just know that I just wanted to see something in there. So if if anybody has a problem, that's fine. That's absolutely fine. I dig it. I'm just trying to prep. I'm trying to watch out for the abutters at this point. Deb, was there anything specific that you needed to talk about? I know we looked at some of the red stuff, the light fixture plan, the photometric study plan. That's just red line stuff that you have to go back and forth with. Perfect. Let's see. Let's get back down to where okay, we know the vote of the board, that's fine. Comprehensive permit is based on the proctor. You said that you checked the August 31st, 2021 date.
It's August 30th.
Okay,
I'll fix that.
lock in.
It's also, that letter's also project eligibility site approval. So I'm going to add the /site approval per that letter.
No, that makes sense. Makes sense. Now, remind me what happened with 5 and 6.
Okay, so after on 4, there's A, B, and Attorney Galvin added a new subsection C.
Okay. Oh, the removal of the earth and material and the
Can
quantity.
you-
cost. Oh, I didn't even share the screen.
Yes, thank you.
Sorry, guys. All right, everybody got that?
Thank you, yeah.
Yeah, seriously, guys, if I'm doing something wrong, you guys just call me out. Call me out. All right. Removal of the earth and material in the quantity caused by the displacement excavation and displacement/excavation for the subsurface infiltration system, subsurface utilities, catch basin and manholes shall be permitted.
The earthy material is like peat moss and stuff.
Yeah. It still comes down to, isn't there and Bob, you'd know Mr. Baker Senior, you'd know this. Isn't there a permit required for removing
Yes.
material? Yeah,
Yes.
so that's a permit that he would have to get anyway.
He has to get from the Board of Selectmen,
Okay,
an earth removal permit.
all right.
So I'm just to clarify that both of these, from his notes, it says added, then it's one of them is crossed out and the
Yeah,
other.
that's what I'm having a problem with too.
Yeah, the other one, the note is, it looks like it, and the numbering looks like both of these are removed. And number 6 was put into 19N, and 5 is also taken out. So 5 and 6 are actually removed and moved into 19N.
Okay. All right.
Yes.
All right, so very good interpretation, Tim. Thank you very much. I want to get back to this removal of the earth and material, blah, 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 manhole shall be permitted, but yet he has to get a permit through the selectmen.
Subject to any permits. At the end,
No, I think he's saying it's allowed. It's because there's a previous condition, number 4. The first part says the developers represented that there will be no earth removal. And at some point here, the developer said, oh no, we're actually going to be using that. We're not going to be removing it. We're going to be just using it elsewhere. Now they've said that we are giving them permission to remove material caused by the displacement or excavation of the drainage system.
we really can't give them permission to remove it.
I knew there was a permit, but I didn't know who it was through.
They're not,
Building inspector.
they're not, that's not really what they're saying.
Okay.
It's because of number 4, there will be no earth removal from the property.
Based on its analysis of the project site, but rather some filling of the property to the extent there is any trucking of materials, it shall be subject to the following conditions.
So they're not saying permitted in the sense of like, we are giving a excavation permit. They mean that we acknowledge, and this is permissible. This is something we are not prohibiting because of number 4.
Respectfully, Tim, I think it could be read either way.
Oh, I'm just explaining. I'm not
Right, yeah, I
arguing with
understand.
the language. So
Can we modify can we, in this letter C, can we modify a few words to make it a little bit clearer? Because again, when Mr. Baker Senior says the earthen material is like the topsoil and the loam and stuff like that, sometimes they get rid of it, sometimes they don't. Sometimes they stockpile it on site and they use it. Any of the material that's going to be coming out, any of the suitable material that's going to be excavated will probably be used on site to build up other portions of the site. So
that's what he had originally said.
yeah, I just think that I personally feel that I like what he's saying here. I just think it could be worded slightly different.
How about something like this, Rob?
Please.
Instead of the last word permitted, change that to allowed. And then comma. Subject to, I just had it and I forgot it. Subject to the terms of the subject to the terms of any required permits.
I think Tom Rubel's still here. Mr. Rubel, are you kicking around?
I think he left, Rob.
He probably did. But I know it's in the, I know it's in the zoning bylaw that you need that you do need,
Earth removal permit.
yeah, an earth removal permit. The removal of the earth and,
Well, my conditions on it would be that, you know, that it's part of the, you know, provided that it's included in the final site plans and reviewed by our peer reviewer.
removal of the earth, the removal of any earthen material in the quantity caused by the displacement excavation for the subsequent shall be allowed.
Can you change that to like subject to
I was just gonna say that, shall be allowed subject
what other
to,
department or what other regulation?
Subject to approval by other town departments or boards.
I mean, is that highway? Is that?
see, planning doesn't get involved, planning can't touch this.
But the bill, they gotta get a thing for the selectmen and the building inspector.
Yeah, catch basin and manhole shall be allowed subject to required permit regulations.
Permitting.
Subject to required permitting regulations.
or requirements.
Applicable?
All right, if we're just gonna start throwing out jargon, then we're gonna start talking section 6 finding and blah, blah, blah. So I think we're all on the same page. Deb, do you have a good understanding of how we want this to sound?
Yep.
Okay. Let's keep going. 5 and 6, we're not even going to talk about, as Tim pointed out, they've been kind of pulled out and added into other conditions. Specifically, Tim, you said 19, is that correct?
19N, yeah.
Okay. I'm going to pull down, we got compliance with local requirements. I've got this is added. Applicant shall be responsible for complying with the town of Rockland rules and regulations for street excavation. Full and condensed versions is adopted by the Rockland High. Love this one. Single family condominium homes. All right. I keep seeing single family and I'm trying to understand why they're.
I think it's because it's not hyphenated.
I can go back and add a hyphen.
Yeah, is that, it's just, as long as it's a
Okay.
thing, and I don't necessarily always trust.
Okay,
Well, it says single family dwelling units.
Yeah, single, it's just, again, it's double underlined, and again, I don't know if they call it a spelling or or a grammar thing, but I know where it's coming from. Whatever looks better and whatever is grammatically correct, that's all I care about. Everything else was good. What else did we get highlighted? See, again, it keeps coming up single family, so. Applicant requested deletion of condition 20. Where's 20? 19, there is no 20, so did he take that out?
I'm sorry, I don't know if you read that. Right, you're reading about the architectural plan comment? So,
Look at that. Oh, I didn't know there was that.
so he wanted the final architectural plans removed from the prior to commencement and had it moved to condition 20, which is prior to the building permits.
Okay. Come on. Where's 20?
Now in B, that he added B.
There we go. Final architectural plans for the proposed units consistent with this decision. Okay, good. This got taken out.
That got put somewhere else, didn't it?
Notes say, duplicative of other condition. Here's one, this one, this one, part, this details to the extent to- It didn't say which one it was duplicated with, but that's why you took it out. Tim, you've obviously had more of a chance to review this than I think all of us. Did you see anything right off the top of your head that was issues?
I have a few odds and ends. that I
Please.
noted.
Right, I'm gonna, you tell me where to go and I'll get you there.
So I noted, so why don't, I noted basically where he made changes
Okay,
from the last conversation, from our
Okay.
last deliberations. So I can't tell if my numbers, so on page, I'm gonna give you my page numbers. Page
Perfect.
3.
page 3, going up to the top. 2, right there, page 3.
So in item J,
Got L, K, item J, the board requested and heard from,
so he added police department and highway department
okay,
from our last deliberations to that, which I think makes sense.
Yep.
So I noted, and then rolling down under Roman numeral 2 in the total project.
Yep.
So we have the corrections, these are 4 single family, 3 bedroom. This
Yep.
is where we have generally 1,800 square feet of floor area.
plus or minus, I love it. With
Yep.
with a footnote specifically depicted on the last revised site plans and shall be finalized in 5. I
So,
love footnotes. I love footnotes. All right.
so pointing out to everybody from our conversation that that's there. On pages 4, 5, 6, those are Deb added all of the, they corrected all the 3 bedrooms, the 2 bedrooms, the 3 bedrooms,
All right.
and added all the reports. On page 9,
5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
so I just had checked note like number 1, properties located in R1 residential zoning district. So we talked about our
yeah.
zoning district a lot. In note in D, that he's also changed that to show the footprint areas shown on
Area, yeah.
the site plans. So that's been picked up.
Yeah.
E, a bunch of changes. So this is where we've got the 20 feet so-called gutter to gutter with the 1 foot Cape Cod berms that was added.
Yeah.
And then he also added the everything about the emergency turnarounds being striped and its sizes. So that's all been changed since last time. On page 10 and G, we've got the ridge height we discussed, the side yard setback, 14 feet for the decks, 18 feet offset for the main structure, projections, 27 feet from the front lot, 20 feet from the rear lot, cantilevering limited to the first floor towards the driveway. So all of that's been picked up. Just, I don't know if you might also notice that I think he's changed applicant to developer in just about every case I could find. So
okay.
tightened up some of the language.
Did you guys see not to interrupt, but did you see when it comes to the 25.4 feet? Did everybody see I don't know if Bob forwarded what the applicant's engineer had to say about this? Did anybody see that email?
No.
All right. Eric comes back with, he read all the conditions, and what he came back with was, he felt that it was a specific elevation that was determined. And while I didn't go back and look at the minutes or anything like that, the intention was to keep a consistent building height all the way through. That's the reasoning that Eric used because that's the reasoning he used for using and modeling after unit number 2, because that was the highest elevation of the roadway and the highest elevation of the buildings that he was going to be looking at. So I calculated the 118.5 or 118.4, whatever the elevation was, but I did not want to maintain that elevation because that would give the applicant the ability to say that 118.5 is the highest elevation I can build my buildings. Which means that if unit 2, if the height is 118.5, he could go down all the way down to unit 1, I guess at the street, or unit 4 at the street. I think it was unit 4 at the street, and technically be 2 to 3 feet higher than the 25.4. I don't like that. I like the idea that all these houses are going to be the same dimension from the concrete floor, from the concrete garage floor to the top, based on the architectural drawings that were provided, and then in the end modified to show the proposed grade. Again, that's how we've got it written here. That's how it works. Is everybody happy with that?
Yes.
If there's any questions whatsoever, bring them up. I have no problem with it.
So this reflects our, this reflects what we discussed last week. This is
Exactly.
not what the engineer thought he might have heard at some
Exactly.
point.
That's kind of the way that's the way that I'm looking at it.
Mm-hmm.
We said this number, and it still comes down to that 118.5 or 118.4, whatever that number was. It is the 25.4 feet above elevation 93. And he used
Jay, as proposed by the developer required in this decision, each house unit will be serviced by a public water supply and a public sewer connection. We got, I think we should put something else in there that,
subject to.
subject to approval of each board.
Well, that's L, right?
Yes, that's the fact. Unfortunately, that I hear what you're saying, Bob, but we're still in the factual findings at this point. This is not conditions.
Oh, right, well,
Which one of you were looking at, Jay? As proposed by the developer and required in this decision, each housing unit will be serviced by a public water supply from the, and technically that's not correct. Technically, that's not correct. I think he was building a main up the driveway, and then the services will attach off the main. And the sewer connection is technically a sewer main that runs behind the buildings to a manhole, which I think stayed on the property. Then that manhole ran to a doghouse manhole that tied into the pipe that services and comes through the easement that services 330. So again, it's findings of fact. I don't know how 100% accurate we have to be here. But in the grand scheme of things, each housing unit will be serviced by a public water supply. They will be. All right. It's not individual services tapped off the main in Concord Street.
oh, okay, Kate takes care of it anyway.
Board of oh yeah, that's right.
Reaches an agreement for provisions of water. And then I think Al says the sewer.
All right.
There.
Yeah, still findings of fact. So I think we're still okay there. Local conditions, that didn't change as far as I know. Tim, I jumped in on you. I'm sorry.
I was gonna say then just to point out on 11, he did update condition M, that this is not connecting to the municipal stormwater system.
Stormwater system.
We added some rainwater. So On 12, we've got the hours and updated. And then as we've already discussed, then the removal of the earth and material issue. So we discussed that already on, just I noted on 13, he added the dark sky compliance that I requested.
Perfect.
And then added to comply with the street excavation rules.
Okay.
That was from Mr. Baker. That's there. On 15, two notes on 15, number B. So it's B, he added the landscaped areas and gardens for a specific land to maintain. And then it needs a comma between garden, there's garden, comma, fencing. There should be a comma, an emergency vehicle. So
Got a question.
it's a very minor thing.
He's got a question.
Mhm.
Mr. Gallo, go for it.
I got a quick question. I'm just back at 5 and 6, the numbering. I don't know how worried we are. I just thought I saw 5 and 6 repeated.
Yeah, it was because basically 5 and 6, as it was written up there, that
Yeah.
all got taken out and renumbered everything.
Okay, thank you. I was trying to watch the numbers and I
Spot on.
Steve, and seriously, man, anytime you have a concern, question, shout it out. Seriously, man, everybody is okay with that. Just
All
if you have an issue, speak it up. You know, because again, you could be seeing something that we're not. You know,
All right.
your opinion is as valuable as everybody else's. So
Keep lying,
Well-
not keep believing.
Rob, we had talked about at the beginning, we had talked about, sorry for interrupting Tim, but it's kind of a big thing, that they were going to have a backup generator for the grinder pumps. Because they were talking about grinder pumps.
They do. They were on the plans, I believe. And I think that's
I didn't see,
I thought it was only one grinder pump, and that was at the manhole. I didn't think it was one.
right,
For each.
well, they call it a muffin monster.
yeah, the Muffin Monster was on I saw it on the plans.
I remember seeing that, but again, the generator, I don't remember seeing.
I didn't see a backup generator.
Oh,
for
the
it.
generator part of it. I got you.
Right,
Yeah.
Give me a second.
that could be a big problem.
I was like, I know that Muffin Monster was there because that
Yeah,
name
it's
just
just
gets
a
you every
big
time you see it.
Just a big grinder inside the manhole, and then it shoots it out.
Trying to find the plan that I had here. I have to re-download it. Yeah, I'm gonna have to re-download it. Come on. How do I? Our projects. Let's reach one. And we are looking at, that's the architectural, it's the green and graded. We're gonna go to this one, because this is the overall. If I start to lag out, let me know. And utility plan, okay.
And isn't that in the lower left?
Lower left over here.
Lower left
the
part
notes?
is the Muffin Monster.
Oh, yeah, right here. You are correct. I don't see, Mr. Baker, you are correct. I don't see anything called out here. Do they have anything in the specifications in the notes? Contractors do their to do. Sponsor establishing and maintaining all control points, contractors coordinate street work, shall excavate, install, one station, do, 30 material guard, domestic water, pressure testing, domestic water station tested, and all gravity sewer pipe be poly, yeah, unless we're, it's noted, we're saying cross water mains, we all know that. When it applies to the bulk from water main sewer shall be encased in concrete for a minimum distance of 10 feet from the crossing point, blah, blah, blah. We know that. The locations of proposed electrical services are approximate to services needed. Informed, the proposed on-site sewer main shall include clay check dams installed in the sewer trench every 50 feet from the sewer cleanout to the doghouse manhole, which we're not happy with their construction phase. This is still just a phasing plan. Yeah, this is the erosion control plan. I'm gonna say it's not there. I don't remember ever seeing that on the plans, but I remember that we talked about it.
Mhm.
So, Mr. Baker Senior, how would you like to handle this, sir?
Put it as a condition that they have some kind of backup system for the muffin monster, or whatever you want to call it.
And and again, applicant or developer, and and all his assigns, blah, 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 shall be responsible for installing and maintaining
Yes,
a generator
for the purpose of running the what source,
See, this is where it's gonna get weird, because he's gonna have to, technically for that, he would have to have his own private system, his own private electrical meter or something.
no,
Where's it
you
gonna?
put a generator in,
Yeah,
they tie it into the natural gas,
okay.
they put a meter on it, the condo associate pays for the gas.
But what about when the generator is not needed? It would say there would have to be electrical. So he's also gonna have to have an electrical connection there too, right?
Right, they connect that right into a service.
Into one of the house services, or its own individual service for it?
Mine is tied into my house service, so I don't know about condo associations.
Well, that's the point. Unless there's something specifically set up in the condo docs, that unit, whatever the closest one to the street was.
But they would put in a meter, they would hook up power, put in a meter, and the association would get a bill.
Okay.
Right, just like the gas, they would get a gas bill.
So Tim, what you're saying is a separate meter in, again, the closest, whatever the closest one is to,
Well, they can put a
Well, I don't know if we reviewed this, but sometimes the street lighting, those post lights,
yep,
would be on all the time and would be powered by the condo association, rather than allowing homeowners to turn on and off driveway access lights.
What would power the muffin monster in the first place without a generator to back it up?
Yeah, the muffin monster's got to have power too.
right. So it's,
they'll have to run a line and they'll have to have a meter there.
So they would already have existing electrical infrastructure.
Right,
Yeah, the meter would probably be with all the underground utilities and.
Yeah,
just
so
run
it would be a
separately.
stretch for them to have a separate gas account for a generator.
So
Yes,
he,
they would
they
have
would-
to.
so they would need separate electric and gas meters
Yes,
along with the backup generator.
yes.
it's just a matter of where they get located. Do they get located onto the side of, do they get
Building
located on
one.
the side of building one? Or do they do its own kind of not standpipe, but it's basically its own backboard type thing, like over here, and then surrounded by arborvitae's or some sort of landscaping so you don't see it.
Right.
So if, rather than us designing it here, we could put this, if everybody thinks this is important, put it under the following items shall be included with the final design submittal.
Rock and roll.
And right after the no additional habitable space. So it's just add, backup generator.
As a separate, like, 9.
Yeah, that's 5, 6, 7, 8, so 9. So IX.
And what is that? F.
It's on page 17. Jeff.
So the condo association.
Well, this is just,
Well,
I'm saying we don't have to specify how it all happens. We just have to say, just included with the final design submittal, or just generator, a backup generator for the Muffin Monster.
what about the meters?
That's up to them.
Technically, it is up to them, but it would be nice to know where they went.
Well, by putting it in the plans, by specifying here that they have to submit plans,
Right.
For the generator and include the generator in the plans, it would have to be coordinated.
But do the meters also have to go in that plan?
Let's say that they do. Because
So
it would
that's
be
all
nice.
under 9.
No, because you got 5, 6, 7, 8, so it would be 9. So again, that's IX. Okay, if I'm doing my Roman numerals correct.
Yes, we understand the Roman numerals.
All right, I don't use them that often, so.
All right, got it.
Tim, where else you going?
We were on 19A. This is one I just wanted to see what everybody thought about. That just the very first line, the developer has submitted, this is conditions, before they begin, and that they have to submit final detailed site development plans, comma, final.
So we want you to say page? What
Page 15.
Oh, sorry.
Page 15, 19A.
15, 19, okay.
So this seemed awkward to me, and it was something that was changed because of the architectural plan, but the developer submitted final detailed site development plans, comma, final construction plans, including driveway and utility plans, hydrants, signs. I'm just, so there's two things here. I just wasn't sure if we're submitting final site development plans. I'm not sure how they differ. I don't know how final construction plans aren't architectural plans, but these are being submitted to the building commissioner and board's peer review consultant. And so these, for some reason, I thought they were also submitting to us. Yeah, so it'll come later. So there's another spot where it says submit to the board and board's peer review consultant. So just bear with me on that one. So anyway, any thoughts on just the way it's the language, site development plans, comma, final construction plans? Does that make sense? It makes sense to everybody else.
Conditions precedent to site disturbance. They come before site disturbance. In particular and without limitation, no site grading, tree removal, or land clearing of any kind or construction of any structure or infrastructure shall commence until developer has submitted final detailed site plans, that reads fine. Board's peer review consultants ensure that final plans local approval and the board of health has to include the Board of Health as to trash disposal and with statement from the code. Copies of the final approved plan along with proof recording of the Plymouth County Registry of Deeds should also be filed with the board and the building department for record keeping purposes. The developer must secure all such approvals prior to construction and allow the building commissioner and or board's peer review consultant to the town 30 days to review the final plans and to review by the building commissioner and or board's consultant to the town at the developer's cost and expense. Slightly long-winded, but it does make sense.
So, so when I read, it's just in that first sentence, final detailed site development plans, comma, final construction plans. Now bear in mind, these are being submitted to the building commissioner and the
It was the
board.
architectural plans.
So, well, remember, they wanted to take them out of this time period, move it to section 20, number 20, and submit them prior to building permits. So that's where the term final construction plans confused me. So this is A, same section. So prior to starting the project, item F in this says developer has submitted to the board and board's peer review consultant for final review and final acknowledgement of consistency with this decision. And here's where they took out final architectural plans. So it's a final and detailed site development plans, scratching final architectural plans, and then some other, and so on and so forth. So I'm just not sure about the consistency and what we're calling things and what the plans are. If anybody has any issues with this, it just felt like I found it confusing about, I know what they're asking him to do. It's just like do all the site stuff and then we'll do architecturals with the building permits. So, and I'm not sure if I like the idea that they're submitting stuff to us, but in F, developers submitted to the, I don't know if that's supposed to be board or if that should be building commissioner.
No, I think I think it should be building commissioner, because if he finds a problem with it, then he talks to us.
Yeah, so
Just a question.
Wait, if you've got that, just the effects on ensure
Well,
that.
it's going to the peer review.
Look at that. These plans and improvements shall address the effects on the butters and assure that there will be no detriment. Okay, so that's good, but we've got the condition in there that says that he's going to be responsible for it if it doesn't happen. But how is A, Tim, I think I got to be missing something. How is A and F different?
right, I don't know. They don't seem different to me, and it's
Okay, all right.
and the nuance, like that little nuance of like for review and final acknowledgement of consistency with this decision. So the A kind of seemed like the same, but then there seemed to be conflicts between them. So
Yeah, well, you're right, Tim, because it's saying final detailed site plan.
Yeah.
But in A, it's saying that he has to go to the building with the site plan.
yeah, and then it was final
And
construction
architectural
plans,
plan.
but then final architectural plans was scratched out of F. So
Where did he want to put it? He wanted to put it in, does anybody mind if I go to C condition 20 here for some reason?
So the final architectural plans are it's that item B in 20, which is on page, so the architectural plans are just something else altogether. That's on page 19, 20B. But that's another, I've got
Was added.
No later than the date on which the first request for a building and before any building permit application is filed. The applicant shall file with the building commissioner and or board's peer review and consistency of the long-term property management, final architectural plans for proposed units consistent. Okay. At least I understand, I think I understand the timing now. He doesn't want to deal with anything. He doesn't want to deal with anything building, meaning anything house related, anything unit related. He doesn't want to deal with any permits until basically he's got the remainder of the site up to snuff. That's what it seems like. It seems like he's trying, it seems like he's trying to put off having to go for any building permits because he knows that in the beginning, he's not going to be able to touch anything foundation until he gets everything else done, inclusive of at least a binder course on the driveway. So why pay for a building permit when you're not even going to be touching them until the site work is all done?
I really don't have a problem with submit your architecturals later. That the issue is just what looks like a duplicate condition.
I hear you.
Some conflicts between them.
I hear you 100%.
So we either have to combine the two, get, to me, the item A, final construction plans, would probably mean architectural plans, but so to me, A has both, it's both duplicate, and then the whole board versus building commissioner and architectural plans. It's just, there's no consent. It's conflicting and duplicating.
Yep. Subtle differences. Attorney Galvin he's attending the selectmen's meeting with the board with the sewer commissioners tonight. And there's obviously some big things going on there. I don't know if he's going to end up coming to this. Just let me shoot him a text to find out where he is in the grand scheme.
I think you're right though, Tim. Those two are kind of, because the final site plans are going to be looked at by peer review and the building commissioner. Then down in F, we're going to look at them.
Yeah.
After all of this is.
I don't want to look. I no offense to the architects in the board. I don't want to look at these plans anymore. If there's a problem with them, I want Mr. Rubel and I want Pat Brennan to say, hey guys, something's different. And then we can look at them.
So we should take F out and just put architectural plans in A.
I agree.
Right, Tim?
Yeah,
That would make more sense.
yeah, it seems if I were to try to make sense of it in A, I would just scratch final construction plans. And then in F, I would strike board and put in building commissioner and leave Bob's strike out of final architectural plans struck out.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes,
can we get on F for a second?
absolutely.
Thank you.
You get there. F.
Now, as I understand, is that calling for architectural plans?
Speaker volume or something.
And everything I can to it, Rob. Nothing.
And now I just heard you.
Oh, okay, maybe it's me. All right. If you recall last week, and he said it before, Rob has a concern if we reserve things for our review after we've issued the decision. That's not really a decision. And I'm wondering if that's his concern there, for the architectural plans to come back to us after this decision has been issued.
I hear what he's saying.
I would say that's true across the board. It's not just the architecturals, but also
Everything else.
Oh, yeah,
Like
but
development.
I'm referring in particular to this item here that's under consideration.
Just for it sounds like we need just clarification between this, was it 20A, 19A and 19F as to whether one is better than the other or if one is really doing something different than the other one is. I got a text into him to find out what's going on. Deb, you heard Tim's suggested verbiage change?
I did.
Okay, let's just hold off for that. Let's
Yeah.
we have to hold on to that for right now. What where do we leave off? What was after this, Tim?
So so from F moving forward.
Yep.
In Roman numeral, so same page 16. So Roman numeral, so I1.
Mhm.
It's parking. It's the last sentence. It says roof drains, driveway, and parking are construction. I think that's supposed to be area. Parking area construction.
Well done.
So number 7 on page 17. So that's, he popped in our no habitable space. That made an appearance. And then in G, you'll also note that the fence installations have been added from our last discussion.
Can I go up to this drain pipe and culvert sizing calculations? We have no culverts.
Yeah.
A culvert is a culvert is the last structure as to when it drains into the wetlands or something like that. We have nothing like that.
Yeah.
But I think I think it was Mr. Baker Senior that said something about the overflow. When we're dealing with that whole what is it, the rain garden thing?
Rain
Yeah.
garden. Yeah.
There's some sort of overflow day, and I would say, if you want to do the proposed profile showing drain pipe and sewer connections, drain pipe and only items shall be included with final design. Gassing, granite, driveway, parking area construction, curbing, pavement, signage, walkway, final landscaping detail, sediment and erosion control. It's nothing drainage is in here. Send a testable data, proposed profile, drain pipe, operation and maintenance. No additional, okay, we said that. Drain pipe and rain garden calculations.
It shouldn't really be drain pipe because that could mean the downspouts for the houses.
Which that's fine. Because then it has to be, because that's all a part of the stormwater. So in the end,
So it
instead of doing
should stay stormwater and roof runoff.
any and all, so we did this before, we did this on the other one, any and all
Right.
stormwater management.
Structures.
Well, I mean, we can say,
Mechanics.
why don't we just simply say drainage system calculations?
Yeah.
Or mechanics. All stormwater mechanics and culvert size calculations.
We gotta take culvert out of there because we don't have a culvert.
I love that Bob got that back in.
Okay.
Stormwater management design and do stormwater management system designs and calculations. Just simplify it to that, I think. All right, so that was, I'm sorry, Tim, I busted in again. I apologize.
Yep, it's good. So 18, what do I have? Sewer lines. Oh, he changed the septic system to sewer lines.
Page 18.
Yep, on page 18, Roman numeral 2. Added a comment.
Yeah.
N is that's the big thing. So just wanted to make sure everybody's read 19N, which is the bottom of that page. That was the 48 hours prior to ground disturbance.
What are the wells?
I was just going to say that. I don't think there are no wells. I think we can strike that because there are no wells.
I think he's putting in the wells.
It was never brought up during a meeting. I didn't see it on the
Right.
plan, so I don't even want to talk about it. So that has to be struck. Going back to N, at least 48 hours prior to and ground surface or this site work, no other pre-construction meeting identified as such shall be held. The develop site contract representative, the police department, driving a representative of the board. Mr. Galley, that's going to be you. The board's peer review consultant who will be serving as the board's construction monitor and representatives of those town departments having an interest in the total project, rock and roll. Said meeting shall be for the purpose of familiarization with the total project, the conditions of approval, and the project construction sequence and timetable. I like it.
So that's
So I-
the,
Question,
Yes.
traffic safety officer, should I change that to what Lieutenant Zioli's title is?
No,
Or is that okay?
No, I would say just a representative and leave it as is. I don't want to.
Okay,
if he's on vacation, they
Yeah, I
use
was
some,
just about to say that.
so this is where they were, putting the, submit, for traffic through town and all that sort of stuff. So. So moving on to page 19.
19.
Does the first sentence of number 20 make sense? I felt like it was missing, maybe missing something. Not later than the date on which the first request for a building and before any building permit application is filed. First request for a building. Is that first request for a building permit? Or does that make sense? Then I'm just not following.
No later than the date on which the first request for a building permit and before any building permit application is signed, the applicant shall file with the building commissioner and or board's peer review for consistency with the decision. Okay. So I think what they're trying to say, what he's trying to say is not later than the date on which the first request for a building permit is made and before any building permit application is approved. The applicant shall file with the building commissioner and or board's peer review consultant for review and for consistency with the decision. I think that's how it's supposed to sound. I think that's what they're trying to say.
Yeah, I'm not sure what, like.
No, I know. I think it's
request for the, and the term filed before an application is filed. So.
Could you say that before the request for building or before permit is filed, they can get confirmation by the board's review consultant?
it's not even that. It's just that I hear where Tim's going. It's that whole first sentence prior to the comma. It doesn't read well and it doesn't really say what it's trying to say.
No, true.
And in the grand scheme of things, it looks like he's trying to say that before any permit to construct the individual units is filed for or approved.
Yeah, I just didn't even know what's the difference between a first request for a building permit and before any building permit application is filed.
What it's saying is kind of the same thing. That's why I'm looking at it from the perspective of before he tries to get a building permit and before Tom Rubel looks at and files the building, and approves the building permit. He's got to get all the rest of it. He's got to get all this stuff in.
So should it be before the applicant submits an application? A permit application?
Yeah. Not later than the date on which the first, prior to the date on which the first request for a building permit.
or the request for a building application.
It's a
Maybe
building permit application. So prior to prior to the date on which the first building permit application is submitted to the building commissioner, the applicant shall file with the building commissioner and or board's peer review consultant for review, everything in A and B. So prior to the date, prior to the initial
Wouldn't it just be before any building permit application is filed?
Make
I
it
just didn't
simple. I love it.
Everything before the and, I just don't understand.
Yeah, no, it's, I hear what they're trying to say, but it's, Tim, can you say that
Like a
one more
lot of lawyer, what jumbo.
Yeah, just start with before any building permit application is filed.
time? Done.
The way that reads to me is that they have to simply file with the building commissioner or the review consultant before they request a building permit application. But it doesn't say that they have to have it reviewed and confirmed as consistent with the decision before they file an application for a building permit.
Well, it's funny you should say that, Stephen, because my problem with B, final architectural plans for the proposed units consistent with the decision.
And I'm gonna go mute for a second.
What just happened?
Muted himself.
Oh, so take a peek, Stephen, at 25.
Yeah.
Because condition number 25 in this says they have to submit to the building department for review and final acknowledgement of consistency with this decision. And it's a very detailed description of the architectural drawings. I think that 25 does exactly what you were saying. I just don't know why it's in 25 and B is so simple. And then they would take care of the issues with 20.
I just got off the phone with Bob Galvin. He said he's gonna be signing in momentarily. So all of that will definitely be taken care of once he gets on the line. Can I suggest a bathroom break?
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
Bathroom break.
You want to drink a water?
Rob, I'm here. It's Attorney Bob Galvin.
Hi, they took a bathroom break.
Oh,
They'll
okay.
be back in a second.
All right. I'm driving. So,
All right, Attorney Galvin is here, good. Hey, Bob, did you notice that Greg Tanzi isn't here?
I can't see. I'm driving and I'm on my phone. So,
No, I dig it, I dig it. Mr. Tanzi could not make it tonight. He did not know there was a meeting, and he is otherwise indisposed.
okay.
He was a voting member.
Okay. Well, all you need is 4 members to vote, or 3 members to vote.
I agree. The only issue I see is that the last time that he wasn't here for one of these, we kind of pushed it off. Because he was the most vocal member on this.
Well,
So
everybody else knew there was a meeting.
Yep,
We talked about it last week, didn't we?
I know we did. I know we
All right.
did.
I mean, look we only have an extension till Friday here. I think the board has to act.
Let me text him to see if he's at all available.
Excuse me, Bob?
Yes.
Bob Baker, Jr.
Hey, Bob.
How are you?
Good.
Good. Quick question. Is my understanding correct that on a 40B, all you need is a majority of those present and voting?
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, and just so you know, we voted to give Mr. Norris at the piano mill the variance that he was looking for.
Okay. I apologize. I couldn't get here earlier. Tony was unavailable and I was with the selectmen.
You can say the same, you can use the same excuse Craig did. You didn't know there was a meeting. It's all good, man.
Well, I've been doing a lot of work on this permit, so.
No, I know. You know this inside, this kind of inside and out at this point. And at this point, did you guys start telling them where we have just questions?
Nope.
No, not yet. Okay. Again, I sent it, I shot a text out to Greg just to see it, just to see what's going on. He said he had an appointment. I don't know what appointment. It's none of my business. So I don't know.
Here's Sawyer's birthday. Here's Sawyer's birthday.
All right, we got, I know Mr. Baker Jr.'s not, or, oh, there he is right there. Tim, do you want to start up the top where we kind of started finding just weirdness?
Sure. Start finding weirdness. Just go back to the questions. Just want to see if there's anything prior to that.
There was some wording that we changed, but for the most part, we didn't take really anything out. Little weird, like little interesting stuff. Well, what was this?
I guess
Following, like the following items shall be included with the final design submittal. We changed this, the whole culvert sizing calculations. There are no culverts. So we just changed that to stormwater management designs.
So I think the two major Bob Galvin questions we had are some of the changes from 19 conditions precedent to commencement of project. So holding off any commencement until, and then condition A says the developer has submitted final detailed site development plans, final construction plans, including driveway utility plans to the building commissioner and board's peer review consultant. And then a couple of conditions down from that is F, and that is the developer has submitted to the board and the board's peer review consultant for review and final acknowledgement of consistency with this decision, final and detailed site development plans, and then scratching and final architectural plans. So the issue, the question we raised were, are these substantially the same?
I think they are. I think they're duplicative, Tim.
Okay, that's how it seemed to us, and it seemed that F was probably closer. That was the one you scratched the final architectural plans, but it left the question of submitted to the board. And we thought if those are basically the same, we probably want to change board to building commissioner, and then leave the final architectural plans scratched out.
That's right. And I did include the final architectural plans in another condition now.
Yes. So we just would want to review to see if there's anything in A, such as like the developer must secure all such approvals prior to construction 30 days and so on. There might be some things that we need to blend between those two.
Yep, I agree. But I do think that those two that you cited are duplicative, and that's inadvertent on my part.
Sort of duplicative, but there were a couple things that were inconsistent. So we thought that it also, we wanted building commissioner, not board approval.
That's really where it should be, building commissioner, not board.
So
it seems like A is a little bit more strict, I guess, than F.
What I liked about F was having it's very clear. It's for review and final acknowledgement of consistency. So there's good parts of both that we want to blend. So on the question of the other question we had for you was on 20 with the final architectural plans. So there on B, 20B is where you added the final architectural plans. But number 25 says the developer shall submit to the building department for review and final acknowledgement of consistency with the decision, final and detailed scaled architectural drawings for all structures as approved by this decision, including floor plans, current and finished elevations, construction type, exterior finishes, and so forth. So it felt like it's the.
Yeah, it almost doesn't need to go and be there in light of the condition number 25.
Mhm.
I think we could scratch it out from 20B and just leave 25 alone.
So yeah, 25, the issues, it's conditions related to construction in 25. And,
Yep.
and so rather than, and then that brings us to the question on number 20, which is the idea of something being done before the building permit. We just couldn't follow the wording on number 20, which was not later than the date on which the first request for a building and before any building permit application is filed. It just seemed like we were just simply saying before any building permit application is filed. And just, we were kind of looking for some guidance on what.
Well, you can't, I mean, you need final building and architectural plans before you get a building permit.
Mhm.
So,
we don't
yeah, it's a
necessarily need
little
to say
awkward
it.
word.
Or-
No, I mean, I think it's appropriately worded in 25. Like Tom Rubel's not going to issue a building permit until he's got the appropriate plans.
Right.
So, including floor plans and framing plans and electrical and plumbing and all of that stuff included.
Yeah.
And you don't have that yet.
And the wording on 20, then it would only relate to the property management plan. But we weren't sure about just the way 20 was worded, whether we just simply needed to say before any building permit application is filed.
I think that's what you say.
Well, works.
Scratch the rest. Scratch the rest, scratch B, leave 25 as is.
Leave 25
That's right.
as is.
Good.
That's pretty much where we left off. I don't think there was any real questions before that. We just did some basic wording changes. I think that's really all that was.
Yep.
Okay.
Tim, where else are you going?
So 20, we left 20, 21 is in here, and that's the putting down the first course of pavement. And I wasn't sure if that's actually how we left it and wanted to put it, or we were in our conversation, it seemed like we were going to not give him this particular condition. And then later there's in number 34. So 34 seems to contradict it, because at the end of it, we added the construction entrance shall be stabilized and maintained at all times at all access and egress, 50 feet by 18 by 15, sorry, I can't speak, 50 feet long and 18 feet wide with crushed stone throughout construction. So we say,
Number was that, Tim?
so that's number 34 on page 21.
Okay.
So maintaining a crushed stone access would seem to contradict having a binder course down for the driveway.
No, that means while they're bringing in the material and they're doing the excavation for installing the underground utilities, then they have to pave they'll have to remove that and put a course coat before they can start building houses. This is just this one in 34, construction entrance is so that there's no mud and stuff being dragged out onto Concord Street while they're bringing trucks in to do the excavation and the drainage and stuff that they have to put in.
So my recollection is that we had a lot of conversation back. I should say, Rob had a lot of conversation with all sides of the argument.
Yeah, I know. This construction entrance, it's something that needs to be maintained until they're ready to pave the roadway. Once they're ready to do final grading and pave the entry access driveway, that then, this construction entrance goes. So it's almost like this one sentence needs to be its own condition, kind of up high.
Well, how are we, number 21? Is this where the board wants to leave this idea of prior to the start of any construction of any building, the driveway is going to be built, installed, and have the first course of pavement?
Yep.
Oh, I don't think the driveways will be done because they're not sure exactly where the house will be.
Yeah, the main access drive serving.
It's written that way,
the
the driveway serving the project.
Yeah.
So
Not
that,
not the actual driveways to the garage.
The residential driveways, yeah.
Right.
House numbers shall be approved by the way. It feels like that last sentence in 30, what was it, 35? Yeah. 34 rather. That one sentence needs to be up high as its own condition somewhere up in here. And again, conditions relating to construction. Because technically that's the first thing that needs to be built, technically.
It should be way up before the construction to the building construction. It should be up with the where we had the any land clearing or any of that.
Until this regulatory agreement, developer obtains submitted board and obtain all necessary approvals from local developers submitted to the board and board peer review consultants. So it should come after all this because this is everything that he has to submit.
Should probably be number one condition.
Yeah, but he can't do anything until he submits all this stuff to the building department.
Right. And then he gets a building permit to do the excavation and drainage and stuff.
Right, so conditions precedent to commencement of the project. This is everything that he has to do to get permission to do so from the building department. Following it shall be included on the final site plan. Drainage, final detailed landscaping, blah, 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 blah. This is everything that he needs to submit. So then we get to conditions precedents to issuance of a building permit.
21A should be double A. It should be right in there, right in here somewhere.
No, it's got to go before that because this is the first thing that he has to build. This is the first thing that he has to construct. The very, very first thing that has to be constructed. So
do we have it's a weird thing to say, like prior to any site disturbance, disturb the site, put in a driveway.
Well, it's not a driveway, it's just the stone entrance. So
so it seems to me that the conditions related to construction are just simply that this involves everything related to the construction. I mean, it seems appropriate. It seems an appropriate spot to me to put it because the conditions, they're not sequential per se.
Mhm.
Some of them are like, before you can get a building permit, you have to do this. Before you can commence the project, you have to submit a bunch of documents.
Yep.
But this is just like a general, to me, a site access drive is just part of the general conditions for construction.
So could this be MNO? Okay, could this be a letter O under 19?
Well, we don't want them to put, you're trying to make it a sequential, like the condition, it doesn't matter whether it's the last condition or the first condition, they have to comply with it regardless.
Right.
So,
Right. Oh, I don't care about the sequentialness. Saying he has to comply with all of this stuff before he can do anything. All the way down to M, or all the way down to N.
So it seems a site access, construction driveway seems appropriate in a general construction conditions section.
Right.
And
Take this,
just the only issue I had with it wasn't, I mean, it's there, it's in, I think it's in the right section. I think it says the right thing. I just wanted to make sure it was consistent with what everybody thought, because I wasn't sure we actually had an agreement on the issue of the driveway and the wells, not the wells, the recharge. I thought we might be more flexible about letting the developer figure out his own sequence as long as he maintained a construction drive, the construction entrance, until he was able to put the binder course down.
right. So the question is, where do you put this? It doesn't belong in this one.
Why? To me, that's not the question. So I have no problem with it where it is.
Okay.
The question is, it seems inconsistent with the idea of the binder course before he does any other construction. So if we are going to require the binder course before he builds the houses, then this sentence needs to change to say not throughout construction, it should say before the binder course is down. If we are not going to require the binder course and we are going to let the developer decide the sequence of their own construction, then we should remove the other condition.
I'm confused, so it's whatever you guys want to do. I'm kidding. I'm confused.
So,
This construction entrance, we all know that it's required. We all know that it's required. But I feel like talking about it when we're already talking about as-built prior to this, it's not, that's a consistency issue.
So to me, the sequence, so let's have a quick conversation about the big question. Are we making a condition to require the developer to put in all the recharge systems before they can build, and then put the binder course down before they can do a house construction?
Absolutely.
Okay, you feel okay? Then instead of saying construction entrance shall be stabilized and maintained at all times, at all access and egress from the site, when it says throughout construction, then we should say that they've got to do a construction drive until the binder course is down and the site driveway access is constructed.
That I dig. I still think it should be its own like condition, whether it's like a 34A or something like that.
I mean, we can break it out, give it another number, and it can say A. I mean, if you feel like it's, I've lost it in here, 34, it could give it its own number and say A construction entrance shall be stabilized and maintained at all times, at all egress, etc. And then same thing at the end, instead of saying throughout construction, simply say
Either that or add it to 24. You can add it to, if you add it to 24, at least it's talking about noise, vibration, dust, town roads, utilities shall at all times use reasonable means to minimize inconvenience, blah, 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 blah. You could probably put it in, I would put it in as a second sentence.
Mm-hmm.
okay, I'm fine with that.
Oh,
We can do it. If we can do that, at least it gets it away from talking about as-built plans. And again, I
That
feel like,
sentence could go up to 24.
I feel like this is the first time we talked about it in this entire, in the entire thing. I feel like this is the first time that we actually talked about construction entrance, blah, 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 meaning in the decision as we've looked at it. So
We added it last, I mean, it was something we talked about last week, making sure we got it in here.
Oh, I know it was one of the first things that we talked about at the first time, at the first
And
meeting.
he shows it on the plan.
All right, so he does show it on the plan. If we put this up if we say put it up in 24 someplace, the proposed construction entrance shall be stabilized and maintained at all times and at all access egress site for the area, 50-foot long, 18-foot wide, crushed stone throughout the construction, with crushed stone throughout construction.
And until the binder course is applied.
That's the consistency that just, it wasn't coming through in number 34.
The binder course is what? Applied?
Installed,
Installed, applied.
yeah.
Okay. All right, so it becomes the second sentence of number 24.
Rock and roll.
Okay.
Mr. Haynes, talk to me. What else you got?
All right. Going back to that, on page 19, condition 23, just simply, it says all single family condominium home. So I think that wants to be
Homes.
plural.
Yes.
On page 20, number 26, I think we decided to take out the term street furniture. The third or fourth line up, there it goes. So does everybody agree that was a?
Is street furniture. I'm talking about benches and stuff.
Mhm.
We never called for this place
Yeah,
never.
but what if the condo wants to put in a seat down at the end of the driveway for the school bus pickup?
Not on the plans.
Do you honestly think the school bus is gonna drive all the way down there?
No, at Concord Street.
On Concord Street? No, it was never called for. No, get rid of that. I agree with Tim. Get rid of the street furniture thing.
I thought that was something we had decided in our conversation last week.
All right, so let's yank that.
And let's see, I had a note here on page 21, number 36, to make sure that was everything Bob Baker Sr. has dreamed of and wanted.
I think that was Mr. Baker Senior's request, not mine.
Did I say junior? I meant I did senior.
Yep.
Any thoughts on 41, the 5,000 versus 7,500? I couldn't remember what our peer review consultant asked for.
I thought the last I knew, right here. The applicant wants $5,000 to start. And that's fine, because if it gets below $2,000, he's gonna have to re-up anyway.
All right, I have a question on that escrow account.
Mhm.
That's the same account that we have, so that means bring it back up to 5,000.
Yes,
Okay,
yes.
okay.
What do our rules and regulations say?
I don't know, what does the peer consultant say?
Well,
Again, I'm
I thought on
assuming,
a 40B, it was $10,000 up front.
again, it's,
This is a 4-unit project. It's
Yeah.
not a big project.
I don't see the 5,000 being a problem. By the time it's all said and done, Pat's overall bill to deal with all the inspections during the construction, deal with any other meetings that need to come in, review all the as-built documentation, do a final site as-built walk. His overall final number might be somewhere in the neighborhood of like 8, 9, 10 grand anyway. So if that's the case, then every time it gets below $2,000, we need another check for $3,000. It's gonna be more of a pain in the butt for him.
All right, Fair enough. I wanted to just make sure that everybody saw it and that wasn't in contradiction to our peer review. Number 46, the last line refers to operation of the private wastewater disposal system as approved.
We have no septic system. There shall be no use or storage of hazardous materials other than those types and amounts considered as normal to household use and or residential construction.
We just strike from or past that.
Period. Yeah. Good catch.
Well, actually, they will have a private,
Private wastewater disposal.
they have the muffin grinder,
Yeah, but in the end,
digestive
this is
grinder, and then it goes into the public water supply.
normal to
Gonna have
household
to maintain that.
construction. I hear what you're saying. This is coming down to a septic system. That's what they're talking about,
Mhm.
or at least that's what this kind of thing talks about.
That's about chemicals in particular. Are there,
Yeah.
I don't know that the muffin needs any hazardous
No.
chemicals.
No, you're not supposed to dump any kind of hazardous chemicals into the sewer system anyway. But here's a question, Mr. Baker, Senior, you might know this. With latex paint, I've been told that you are supposed to dump that into the sewer system. You've been told that you can run that down the drain.
You let it dry and throw it out.
That I know. But I mean, I guess the question is, does this muffin monster? Yeah, I know it's a grinder system. All right, I know it's a grinder
Right.
system. But in the end, and
Big
it's
garbage disposal.
all right.
That's what it is.
I'm gonna, since you know this better than all of us, what are your thoughts on number 46? Do you want to just put a period at the end of residential construction, or do you want to say something about no dumping hazardous chemicals into the wastewater removal system?
Just take out the private. Just take out the private. Or in the
Coming in with an easy.
operation of the wastewater disposal system as approved.
Yep,
We just take out the private.
Nicely done.
very nice, easy. Take out a single word. I like it.
Then
And then all of a sudden, the Mr. Tansy showed up.
nice.
And
The only other thing I had was, at least in my copy, the page 25, it says the remainder of the page is blank, signature
I'll
page
fix
to
that.
follow.
I'll fix that depending on where it ends up.
Yeah, so that was the only other thing I had in my notes.
Oh, now he's gone. Mr. Tansy, where'd you go?
He's had enough.
Oh, there you are.
All right, Rob, you got 10 minutes left to gab.
I know, Mr. Tansy, have you heard here? Diana, can you hear us? I don't think he can hear us. Gregor, where are you? Greg. Actually, let me stop sharing my screen. That might be part of the problem.
He's right
Right
there.
there.
I know he's right there, but I don't think he hears us.
Yeah, I can hear you now.
All right, there you go. There you go. You dialed in a little too late. We already approved the project for 10 units.
Oh, 10 units. Yeah,
They're now multi-families.
2 units. Did you approve it?
We haven't gotten there yet. That's why
Okay.
that's why I wanted you in here, dude. I think we did this the last time. You know, we pushed this off till you got here before we made any like real communication about this thing. So, you know, I'm glad you showed up because you were the most vocal about the whole thing. So where do we stand at this point? everything else was fine as far as that, because we went over all of this. Yeah,
Yeah, I just want to apologize to the board. I had a conflict and I screwed up. And
Brother,
I'm sorry
we all
tonight.
know you went out drinking, you know, you had a good time. No, I understand. I
He was out,
understand.
he was out at a golf tournament.
A late night golf tournament.
No, it wasn't even that.
Don't
Boy,
worry
I
about
got
it.
some sun today, though.
I believe it.
Definitely
Right.
did.
Gentlemen, talk to me. Where do we stand?
I have no more comments, questions, concerns about the draft document that's been presented to us for this evening.
I second that.
I got a second. So Mr. Bear, both Bakers are good. Mr. Galley, coming to you.
No, I have nothing.
At this point, you're good?
Correct.
Tim,
I've monopolized the comments, so.
are you
I'm there.
satisfied though? We addressed everything. We addressed everything that you noticed, everything that you picked up.
Yep, absolutely.
Mr. Tanzi, I can tell you this, the only things that we changed out of this applications are out of the conditions, basically out of the document, were clerical in nature. There was some typos that we changed a little bit of wording here and there just to make it run smoothly. I did, while there ended up being some talk about it, I did want to add in a condition about adverse drainage effects or adverse drainage issues on abutting lots that result from the construction of the development. If any, adverse drainage conditions arise, the applicant or successors and assigns, blah, 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 shall
Mitigate.
mitigate the situation to some degree, or mitigate the situation. That was the only real addition that
And
got
the
added.
generator.
Say again?
And the generator.
Oh, and that's right. Good call. We also wanted to highlight that if they lose power, we need a gas powered generator for the Muffin Monster thing.
Okay. Well, that's a good idea.
Yeah, those were the only things that were those were the only additions to that. Knowing, understanding, and hearing that, how do you feel? Are you in a position to make a decision?
Yeah.
Good. So, hearing that, I wouldn't mind. I'd entertain a motion going either way. I would entertain a motion going either way on this project.
I think that the units are just too large for this, for the site. I think the footprint's too large, and we really don't know what we're gonna be getting. As far as how it's gonna look.
Grega, is that a motion to deny?
I'll make a motion to deny because it's not in harmony with the neighborhood.
Yeah.
I've got
I tend to
a
agree.
motion to deny the project.
I think the applicant could have done a lot more to work with us to make the units smaller. They're so close to each other. If one goes up there's a fire in one, it's jeopardizing a number of them. It's, he could have done a lot of things with 4 units. He could have gone with 2 duplex units. He could have gone with units of a smaller footprint. I mean, these footprints were 1,200 square feet.
1,800 square feet.
The footprint.
Oh, yeah, the
14.
1,800 is the overall. It's 14 and 13, I think.
Yeah. I mean, my house is 800 square feet, the footprint.
Mhm.
You know, and it's a 3-bedroom house and there's plenty of room. You know, I mean,
Because you put Lydia down in the basement.
yeah, but you know, she needed to be in the basement because she needed her privacy.
Of course she
But
did.
but before then, you know, the 2 girls were in the same room, or when the kids were like 2, the boy and the girl were in the same room. We worked it out, but you know, for that site, houses of that footprint and of that size, he could have done a lot more to work with us. And I think moving forward, people proposing these 40Bs need to be a lot more realistic in what they're proposing. Just from a public health and safety aspect of it. You know, I think he could have done a lot more. I mean, he really didn't concede anything.
Can't say that. I mean, he did concede a little bit. You know, nothing major. You know, I'm going to agree with you. Nothing major. You know, we talked about the building height. He did say that he was going to review that he was going to drop the building heights.
Made them a little smaller too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman, a point of order.
Yes, please.
Do we vote on this on a single up or down vote, or do we vote on it pursuant to the proposed votes that Attorney Galvin presented to us earlier today?
It would be exactly what you're talking about. I just wanted to get everybody kind of.
Oh, I'm sorry.
At this point.
Didn't mean to step in.
No, Mr. Baker, you never have to apologize. You're doing the right thing, sir. Let me just get my email open so I can get those. This one can go by ZBA hearing center.
I've got the draft motions here.
All right, I got them too. Do you want to share your screen or do you want me to?
You can share yours.
All right. There. Everybody got that?
Yeah.
All right. So everybody review those. See what you like there. See what you don't like. I think we got to, I think as Mr. Baker was talking, I think we need to vote on each and every one separately.
This is if we approve it.
No, the last item is.
Yeah, just the last one.
So it's findings, you know, that kind of stuff.
Yeah. The permit it says 320, I mean, O instead of 0, 320 Concord development on number 6.
I think that's 320.
Yeah, you meant 320. Don't worry about grammatical. The only thing that I'm looking at is move the board vote to find the basement the applicant developed 320 Concord. He's got checked this in here for some reason. Is or has agreed to become a limited dividend organization, and that the proposed project is fundable as evidenced by a public eligibility letter issued by Mass Housing, and the developer is the owner of the property at 320 Concord Street and therefore has site control. I know he's the owner, so I'm not worried there. The rest of it, Deb, are you comfortable with all that?
Yeah, you know what? I just want to verify that he's a limited dividend organization, but I'm like 80% sure he is.
Doesn't it say that in the decision?
Yeah, it does.
Where
But
the,
yeah,
He doesn't even have to be a limited dividend organization at this point. All he has to do is agree to become one, and he's definitely meeting that requirement.
all right, so we don't have to, so you're not worried about that?
He meets it. I'm telling you, he meets it.
All right, so Ed, so number one, he meets that, vote to find the based on the most town and more, this again, it's protocol, we already know this. Want to find the act, allows community, again, protocol, we know this, I move that the board find the proposed project as restricted by the conditions listed below is consistent with the local needs. That may not be a thing. I move that the board make the findings of fact set forth in the proposed decision. Findings of fact is just everything that we reviewed. So I think that you can work with this. Technically, I would take 1, 2, 3, then 5. Yeah, I would do, I would accept motions 1, 2, 3 in that order. Then 5, then 4, then 6. This is like watching the Fast and the Furious movies. You got to watch them in a different order than how they came out. So the question is, I guess, Attorney Galvin, can you hear me? I'll take that as a no.
Yes, I can hear you.
How many, what do we need? Simple majority or a major majority?
You need a simple majority.
3
3
to 2?
votes.
Okay. All right. Not influencing anybody to do anything. I just wanted to know. So
Well, isn't there a motion on the floor?
that's what I was just going to say. There is a motion on the floor. But again, each one of these motions have to, like 1, 2, and 3 have to come before that. So based on what we know, based on the information as presented, I would entertain a motion on condition number 1.
Right.
I'll second it.
All right, so Ed, so who's making a motion?
I will make the motion.
All right, I got a motion. Do I need a second?
Do
Do
you
I have
want me
a
to
second?
read the motion?
Technically, yes. I'm sorry, Tim.
I thought that, I don't mind. I thought you'd want. I move that the board vote to find that based on the information presented during the course of the public hearings that the applicant/developer 320 Concord Development is or has agreed to become a limited dividend organization, that the proposed project is fundable as evidenced by a project eligibility letter issued by Mass Housing as referenced in the decision, and that the developer is the owner of the property at 320 Concord Street and therefore has site control.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
I got a second. Roll call. Mr. Baker Senior.
No.
Myself is a yes. Mr. Baker Jr.
Yes.
Mr. Haynes.
Yes.
Mr. Tansey.
Yes.
Okay. So as a matter of fact, that's really all that's really just Mr. Baker, just so you're clear. That's all that was. All right. That's all that was. Tim, do you want to go for number 2?
I move that the board vote to find that based on the most recent subsidized housing inventory maintained by the Department of Housing and Community Development, the town does not have more than 10% of its available housing units dedicated to low and moderate income households as defined by the Act, that the sites used for the town's affordable housing do not comprise of more than 1.5% of the total land area zoned for the residential, commercial, or industrial land use, and the construction of the development would not result in the commencement of construction of low and moderate income housing on sites comprising more than 0.3% of the town's land or 10 acres, whichever is larger in any one calendar year.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second,
I have a second. Roll call. Mr. Baker Senior,
Yes.
myself is a yes. Mr. Baker Junior,
yes.
Mr. Haynes,
Yes.
Mr. Tanzi.
Yes.
Rock and roll. That's 2. Number 3,
I move that the board find the act allows communities to protect local health and safety concerns by conditioning the issuance of a comprehensive permit as long as conditions are reasonable and consider the need to provide affordable housing against the legitimate health, safety, and environmental concerns of the community.
this is going to be a difficult one. Do I have a second?
Second,
Got a second. Roll call. Mr. Baker Senior,
No.
myself is a yes. Mr. Baker Junior,
yes.
Mr. Haynes,
Yes.
Mr. Tanzi.
Yes. This is talking about the act.
The act itself.
Yeah. I go with yes.
Okay, so that's 4. That's 4-1. We're still moving in a direction. Number 4, or actually go to number 5.
I move that the board make the findings of fact set forth in the proposed decision.
And again, this is just talking about the findings of fact, no opinions, anything. It's just everything that was presented and everything that we found. I have a motion.
Second,
I got a second. Roll call. Mr. Baker Senior,
Yes.
myself is a yes. Mr. Baker Junior,
yes.
Mr. Haynes,
Yes.
Mr. Tanzi.
Yes.
Okay. Now, 4 and 6 are a little bit. 4 and 6 could actually be combined, but again, if we want to start with 4, whoever wants to make a motion, if somebody does want to make a motion, 4 or against.
Okay. I move that the board find that the proposed project, as restricted by the conditions listed below, is consistent with the local needs.
Need a second.
That needs to provide affordable housing.
Dig it. I saw a second from Mr. Baker Junior. Now we need a roll call. Mr. Baker Senior,
No.
myself is a yes. Mr. Baker Junior,
Yes.
Mr. Haynes,
Yes.
Mr. Tanzi.
No.
Okay, that's 3-2. We're still moving in a direction. I need a motion on number 6.
I move that the board vote to grant the application for comprehensive permit to 320 Concord Development for 4 single-family condominium units, subject to conditions set forth in the draft decision and subject to board action on waivers as set forth in the draft decision and attachment.
Second.
Mr. Ross, didn't I make a motion to deny this?
Well, again, you made a motion to deny, but technically it's got to be in the form of it's got to be in this form specifically. So if you want, I've got a motion at this point, so I would need a second.
Second,
I've got a second. Mr. Baker Senior.
No.
No, hold on. Mr. Baker Senior does have a point. His motion did come before and is basically what he's talking about here. Mr. Baker, instead, Mr. Haynes, I'm going to bump you real quick. And you did. I want to give Mr. Baker Senior his opportunity here.
I'll withdraw my motion.
No, I was going to say, if you don't want to, if you want to withdraw the motion and change number 6 to agree with how you feel, I move that the board vote to deny. If you want to say, if that's what you want to say, you say it. Honestly, man.
Well, there's a motion and a second already,
Sam, can you withdraw your motion, please?
and I withdrew my motion.
All right, you withdrew your motion. But I
Yes.
want you to, I want to give you the opportunity to say what you want to say. If you're okay with it,
No, we can go with Tim's motion.
all right, I've got a motion, and Mr. Baker Jr., you seconded this?
I did.
I got a motion and I got a second. Here's what I'm gonna do. Mr. Haynes,
Yes.
Mr. Baker Jr.,
Yes.
myself is a yes. Mr. Baker Senior,
No,
Mr. Tanzi,
No,
3-2. Attorney Galvin, where do we stand?
It's an approval, 3-2 vote passes. So
I don't know how
the decision needs to be finalized with the edits that were discussed.
Mhm.
And with those discussions, it needs to be filed before Friday.
Deb, you on top of that?
I'm on top of that.
Rock and roll.
So- Rob, why don't you do a motion to have you sign it on behalf of the board? Or you need to get all the members to sign it?
It's up to you guys. How do you want to handle it?
you can sign it on my behalf.
You guys, well, and would Greg and Mr. Baker Senior be signing it?
Yes, they would sign it.
Oh, they would have to say, even though they didn't write, even though they voted to.
Oh, well, the vote has to change in the draft decision to indicate that it was a 3-2 vote.
Okay.
Who voted in favor, who voted opposed?
Oh, okay. All right, so Deb's got that too. So it's up to you guys. If you want, I'll sign for everybody, or we do that whole procedure again, meet up on Friday and we all sign. Tim, are you still out of town?
I'll be back in town tomorrow.
Okay, all right.
But
So,
I'm good with you signing. I'm happy to zip in. I'll be around it.
all right, if somebody wants to make a motion that it's okay that I sign for the board.
Yeah, I'll make a motion that the chairman of the zoning board sign on behalf of the rest of the board members this decision.
Second,
Second.
I got a second either way. Deb, I'll let you make the decision who seconded it. Roll call, Mr. Baker Senior,
yes,
myself is a yes, Mr. Baker Jr.,
Yes.
Mr. Haynes,
Yes.
Mr. Tanzi.
Yes,
Rock and roll. I'll coordinate with Deb as soon as we can. And from there, I just want, I want the members who were not in favor of this to know that I respect your opinions. I respect everybody's opinions, but most specifically here where there's a disagreement. It is what it is. We're not all going to agree. We're not all going to be on the same page. We're not all going to be. And I appreciate everybody's opinions. I just wanted to go on record as saying that. So, Mr. Galley, not yours though.
I just want to know, I think we all share the opinion that Mr. Haynes was much more eloquent and smoother in proposing his motions than I was earlier this evening. So I think I agree with that.
I would say,
I don't know.
All right, is there anything else we gotta go over? Deb, I see you raising a hand.
We have to cancel Thursday night's meeting.
motion to cancel Thursday night meeting,
Second, please. I got a second. I got Mr. Baker Senior,
yes,
Mr. Baker Jr.,
Yes.
Mr. Tanzi,
yes.
Mr. Haynes,
Yes.
myself is a heck yes. What
Now
else we got? Is that it? Is that literally 240Bs down?
yes. School Street and this one,
Took forever. That lit it. And they both pretty much got dropped on us at the same time, correct? I think the schoolhouse one had less meetings though. I feel like schoolhouse had less meetings. But again, both projects came through the same engineer, so that was kind of a nice thing, knowing that it was coming from a reputable engineer. That was a nice thing. All right, anything else to talk about? It's almost 10:30. I want to go home.
Do we still have money in the budget to pay Deb for the meetings?
We'll
All these
figure it out.
meetings?
We're gonna have to, that's a whole nother ball of wax we're gonna have to deal with.
Well, I don't want to see it not getting paid.
Oh, I'll get
It's-
paid.
Oh, yeah, no,
Might
this
take a
is,
while, but I'll get paid.
it's gonna happen. It is gonna happen. I've been on top of this from day one. I
The
don't
other
know.
thing, are we gonna start getting some minutes done up now that we got rid of these 40Bs?
You are.
Okay. So I think some of these should be filed with the decisions on these 40Bs. Would they have to be?
Attorney Galvin, can you answer that?
Just give me a second.
Yep,
Can you hear me?
I hear you.
The answer is we need to get these things done as soon as possible. We don't incorporate the meeting minutes into the 40B decisions. We keep them separate. So as soon as possible, they should be, prepared and approved by the board.
All right, so they don't have to be done at the same time the decision is filed, They can come after.
Correct.
Motion to adjourn.
I got a motion to adjourn. Do we need a second? I got a second right there. Mr. Baker Senior,
Yes.
Mr. Baker Junior,
Yes.
Mr. Tanzi,
Yes.
Mr. Haynes,
Yeah.
myself is a yes.
Okay.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Everyone.
Thank you, Deb. Thank you, everybody. I'm out of here. Closing the
All right. Thank you, guys.
Man.